Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm so grateful that you're here. I want to talk about the biblical stories today because they have so much meaning. They relate to the human condition. They are the meta story of our lives, right? Because you hear about the Bible and it gets bogged down with, is it really true? Did this factually happen? No, it's a story that connects with the human condition, and we have to look at the Bible psychologically, like Jordan Peterson does on his channel. So I'm doing that today. I'm talking about why what stories in the Bible are particularly important for me, and why they resonate with me, because I got this question from Dean. He sent me an email. He said, Brad, what stories resonate with you the most in the Bible? Which stories relate strongly to anxiety specifically, and just improving on our lives in general? So, Dean, I want to touch upon that, and thank you for sending that in because you inspired me to do this video. So let's talk about the story of Moses, because this one really hits home for me, because in the story of Moses, he saves the Israelites from the tyranny, and he moves them from that tyranny into towards the promised land. But they don't get to the promised land right away, because isn't that the utopia of stories, to move straight from the tyranny right to the promised land and everyone lives happily ever after? But no, the story doesn't portray that at all. I mean, you move from the tyranny, but then they're wandering around the desert for a long time. Why? Well, think about it this way. There are so many periods of our lives where we move from one state of being into another. The rug gets pulled out from under us, and then we have to adapt to the unknown. For example, you move from one job to another, you move from one house to another, you move from one relationship to another, you move from one habit to another habit. So many examples in our lives. It happens to us all the time. So for me, when I move from one job to another, it's not like you think right away, okay, I'm going to move from one horrible job. I can't wait to move out from this job into this other job. Sometimes you get lucky and you move from one job to an awesome job right away and you're happy. But a lot of the time you move from one place to another and you realize a whole new host of problems present themselves. And that's the thing. You have to wander around the desert before you make that new state of being into a well-known and comfortable place. So look at the rat. You move a rat from its environment into a new environment. It does not like that at all, because it explores the new environment fully before it can calm down, before its anxiety can say, hey, you know what? This place is not so threatening. I can relax. Relax. So we all experience that. You move from one place to another place. It's not going to be easy. You think it's going to be easy, but it's not really. You have to adapt. You have to get comfortable. So in this story of Moses, the Israelites wander around, and then at one point they question, well, is Moses right? Maybe we should go back to the tyranny, because I thought this myself when I moved from my ex-relationship into being single. I didn't like that because I wanted to stay with my ex because it's what's familiar. The mind wants to stay with what's familiar. It doesn't like change so much because it has to adapt to it. It has to use up so much mental energy to, adapt to that unknown. So for me, I wanted to stay with my ex, even though it was a tyranny, even though I hated the relationship, even though it was awful. We stay in situations that's comfortable. We want to stay with the sugar, the comfort foods, rather than going on a strict diet. We want to stay with the TV rather than being with ourselves and our own minds, right? So think about that for a while. We want to stay with what's comfortable, even if it's things or some people, situations that are not serving us in any way. And so when the Israelites question this decision, here's what happens. In the Bible, it says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, make a snake image and mount it on a pole." Make a snake image and mount it on a pole. Interesting. When anyone who is bitten, because the Israelites got bitten all the time by snakes. That's what happens when you wander around the desert. You get bitten a lot by snakes, right? That's anxiety. Snakes represent the unknown, well, the predatory entities that bite you, right? When you engage in a new habit, it's anxiety provoking. When you go into a new job, it's anxiety provoking. When you go and just change any bit of your life around, it's anxiety provoking. So when anyone who is bitten looks at the snake, he will recover. So Moses made a bronze snake and mounted it on a pole. Whenever someone was bitten and he looked at the bronze snake, he recovered. This deeply moved me because this is the hallmark of psychotherapy. Whatever is causing you the fear that is shrinking your world down really, really small, you have to confront and study it in order to master it and in order for your fear to lessen and for you to get braver. So what's biting you? My boss at work, he's a tyrant. So maybe you have to learn how to be more assertive, and maybe you have to take things into your own hands and maybe find a different job or look for other work on the side, right? You have to confront what's fearful. For me, it was being in public places that made me feel trapped and away from my safe zone. So what do? Well, I had to go into those environments and be comfortable being uncomfortable, confronting all of the bodily sensations that are producing the anxiety. And then over time, my mind would go, hey, even though I feel uncomfortable here, I'm not going to die. And then I become braver because I develop the skills in those situations. And so whenever they pop up again, those skills are reflexive in nature. So I know what to do. When I start to feel anxious, I engage in my mental self-talk. This is a challenge. This is an opportunity to grow. If it kills me, let it kill me. So what if I embarrass myself in front of other people? Who cares what these people think? Do I really want them to be my friends? Do I really, it's like I have my set of internal dialogue when the anxiety comes up. But I also know that, hey, I've handled this before, I can handle this now. So we have to study the things that make us uncomfortable. We have to study the people that have caused us pain in the past and understand where are they coming from. If I wind up in this painful situation again in the future, what's the best way for me to deal with that situation? So master what you haven't mastered yet. Maybe if you view yourself as an unhealthy person like me, going through anxiety, how can I master the healthy identity? So that means I have to cut out sugar, I have to cut out carbs, I have to cut out caffeine, I have to work on my sleep and wake routine, I have to get some more exercise, I have to do breathing exercises, I have to work as hard as I can just to feel normal. So that is really, really interesting. So this is one of the stories that really resonates with me, but also another story is Cain and Abel. I love this story. As you guys know, because I talk about this all the time on the channel, Cain is really resentful and bitter because he looks at Abel and he's like, well, look at Abel, man. He has everything going for him. God is favoring him. And we see that all the time. You know, we see this with successful people. You know, everything seems to go their way. And I was like this person where I was like Cain. I was shaking my fist at these people. Look at them with their money and their success and their health and their good looks, and like the list goes on and on and on. Like, why can't I be like that? I'm anxious, I'm fearful, I have social anxiety. I want to be like them, right? And so you can shake your fist at them, but is that the right way to approach that situation, or to approach that way of being? It's definitely not the case. Because let me tell you something. If you entertain those thoughts long enough, you get into and you fall into a dark place in your life. And that's what happened to me. You become bitter and resentful, and you surround yourself with sycophants, the same like-minded people who complain about the world. But if you make the right sacrifices, like Abel, he sacrifices his prized possession, right? His prized lamb. So imagine at the time, you know, back then, what are your prized items? Well, your prized items are your flock, right? Your meat. Meat's so valuable. It feeds your family. It's highly nutritious. So you sacrifice that, what happens? Well, the universe is going to favor you. So you sacrifice your Xbox. What's going to happen? Things are going to get a little bit better for you. How so? Well, you're not going to be so overly consumed by games. You're going to probably pick up a book or something. You sacrifice your sleeping in to getting up early in the morning and getting exercise, or meditating, or writing in a journal, or helping your kids out, or preparing food for your family, rather than, you know, entertaining your own whims and desires because it just makes you feel good. You know, you sacrifice the things that mean a lot to you for the sake that things could be better for everyone else, even. Not just for you, but everyone else. Like, the universe and the people around you are going to favor you. Things are going to work out for you in a different way. And I think that's why these stories are so powerful, especially Cain and Abel, is because you have to get rid of the things that are close to you, like, you know, weed, alcohol, pornography, television, or social media. These things, when sacrificed, have a long-term benefit for you. And that's what I noticed going through recovery. And then other friends of mine who are still in that pit of resentfulness and bitterness, they shake their fist at me and go, look at Brad, you have everything going for you. Look at my life. Look where I came from, all the pain and suffering. And then I say, well, you're not making enough sacrifices. Yeah, are you willing to give up sugar? Are you willing to give up pornography? Are you willing to give up, you know, carbohydrates, or that beer, or the, you know, sleeping in? Are you willing to go to the gym? What are you willing to sacrifice? And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Remember, I have an anxiety recovery program. So imagine a downloadable program in your pocket on your phone you can take anywhere and listen and recover from this debilitating anxiety. That's on my website at unpluganxiety.com. Rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be one of the first to know. Namaste.